In this section, we're going to build our very first app. We're going to take some of the concepts we've learned with strings in particular and find out how to integrate them into the interface builder in Xcode. So for this assignment, you want to jump into Xcode and go to File, New, Project, Single View Application. And we're going to call this Madlib, because we're going to ultimately build a Madlib app. Leave everything the same for public, or for organization name, organization identifier. You can do whatever you want actually inside there. And then for language, make sure you pick Swift. Okay. So this will create a whole bunch of files here on the side. Don't worry about these settings for now, we'll just keep defaults. The one file we're going to focus on first is the storyboard. And the storyboard has this view controller sort of template for you. So this is a drag and drop based way of building interfaces. It's called Interface Builder. Extremely powerful, and you can get interfaces up and running very quickly. And there's all kinds of widgets you can drag and drop onto these and have them interact with each other. First thing we want to do though is disable auto layout and use size classes. So here, make sure you're in this window here, the file inspector. And you click on disable size classes. And let's just say we'll deploy for iPhone 4S. And so this changes the shape of the controller size for you, just to keep it kind of more standardized. So for this first application we want to build, let's build a Madlib, which is really kind of an old school thing. I don't know if some of you are too young for this, but the idea is you have a story that's really got a lot of blanks in it. And the idea is you ask somebody else to fill in that story with random words, asking for, say, a noun, and then an adjective, and then a verb, and so on and so forth, until you have enough words to fill in the blanks. And then once the blanks are filled, then you give it the entire completed story back to the reader, and it ends up being really kind of zany and silly. So this was a fad when I was young. I'm trying to bring it back through this class. No, but it's a good way to learn how strings work, and it's something simple that we can build. Where you want to go now is in this window. You'll see under the object library a whole bunch of choices. And so these are all different kind of controls or widgets or even controllers that you can drag onto this canvas. That's the storyboard. We're going to start off with a label. Okay. And then we're going to use a text field. And then we'll drag a button. And then we will throw another label. Onto our controller. And so the idea is what we want to do is just say, have the user enter in their name. And then when you hit the button, it'll say a nice greeting to that person. Okay, very simple and obviously a little contrived, but we're getting somewhere. Okay, so we rename the button by double clicking on it as well. Or relabel it, excuse me, change the display of it. And here in the label, right now it's going to be empty. Okay. So how do we actually get any of these things to interact with our program? Well, first let's look at the code that's actually pre-generated for us. Here on the left, the app delegate is kind of like the master driver behind a lot of the execution flow. For now, we're going to skip that. The view controller file is sort of the Swift guts behind the pretty face that you see here. So in Storyboard, you're going to be dragging and dropping and concerned with the visuals of the view controller. But in the Swift file is where you actually get to interact at a code level with whatever you drag onto that view controller. So first thing you want to do is go to these double circles and click on that. And that will split your view. And so on the right side, let's have the storyboard be shown. So this way we get to see both the code and the pretty face at the same time. So to interact between these things, to make all those controls accessible within the code, we need to first link them up. So to link them up, you want to click on control, hit control, drag, and this will prompt you to name your outlet. So let's just call this, actually we don't even need this one. The label itself we don't actually need, but let's drag the text area. Call it name text field. And then the button, we basically want to have code that reacts to when the button gets pressed. These are called actions, okay? And we're going to go into more in-depth as we build more complex things, but for now, you just need to know a little bit about what's going on. So it's going to allow us to choose between these different options. For this, we want action because we're trying to handle the case that the user presses on go. And so we're going to name this block of code on press. We can call it whatever we want. And then we also have this text label lying around. Or I guess it's hard to click on an empty thing. Why don't we create another label? Have that be greeting text field. So what will happen now is if we go up here and hit run, Xcode is going to compile all the Swift code, which means converting it into binary form that the computer can then understand. Then it's going to fire up that code and soon get to this screen, okay? So let's just do that and see what it looks like first. So Madlib, it builds that for you automatically, the title screen. Okay, so here, name, you see it looks pretty much identical to the storyboard version. And this text field is something you can click up in. And then you can click on the button as well. And right now nothing happens, but we want this to change from empty into this greeting that we care about. In fact, Let's drag this and make it a little longer. So what we want to do is we realize that we have to get this variable value from here, which is the name, right? Whatever name the user types in. We want to store that somehow. And then when the users go, we want to create some custom message using that name. And we want to do this once that button is pressed. So this onPressed action gets handled here in this block of code. And let's say we just want to have a simple message of name text field dot text, and then greeting text field dot text equals greeting. So we run this guy. Adam. Hola, Adam. So it worked. You can go back and type prints. Hola, prints. So that's working properly. And however basic this is, it actually sets the table for something we can build that's much more complex. So from here is actually not a big stretch at all to build a Mad Lib.